Hey babies, it's Adore and I'm back with another video. So happy to have y'all here. Welcome or welcome back. We are going to get started on this install by slicking down my edges so we can do the bald cap method. I'm cleaning up all the excess glue that's left on my forehead with alcohol before I place the cap on my head. This time around, I tried something a little different, so I pulled the wig cap down all the way beneath my chin. I stretched it out as much as it could go. I was trying to get the most sheer look out of it as I could, so that's why I tried this, because I'm doing the bald cap method, so I'm just trying to make this thing look bald. So now I'm gonna cut my eye holes and my ear holes, and I did realize that small snips go a long way with this because you don't want your holes to be too big, especially around your ears, because the cap won't lay as flat as you might want it to. I'm using my Got To Be Free spray to spray around my hairline and lay down the cap. After I spray it, I spread it out very well, and I get my blow dryer and blow it dry until it is nice and hard. And I did this 3 times just for security, and I did the same thing every single time, and I just feel around when I think it's about dry just to make sure, and when it does feel nice and hard and not sticky, I know that it is ready to be cut. I'm ready to cut my bald cap, and I like to start on one half and then go on to the other. So when I do, I like to pull up the cap toward the glue / my hairline as much as possible, just with small tugs. I don't yank it or anything because it is stuck to my head because I used the freeze spray, but I do slightly tug at it and pull it as close to my hairline as possible so that it can have the most natural look, or like I want it to mock my hairline as well as possible. So that's how I go about it, and sometimes I feel like I can't necessarily pull it all the way toward my hairline, again because it's very sticky, but I'll get the majority off, and then I'll go back around and slightly peel up the parts that look like aren't too stuck, and I'll tug them as well and continue chopping off as much as I can as I'm working my way closer in toward my hairline. Now that I'm done, I'm going to use the tabs that I left of the cap and tie it right beneath my braids. This way they are tucked in and not going anywhere. And this is what my bald cap is looking like. I'm very proud of this, you guys, because I have been speaking on getting my foundation better, and I was actually very proud of this. After all the glue is cleaned up, I'm going to use my Ebin tinted lace spray in the shade Natural Beige. This is my first time trying this, and I was really excited because I heard good things about it. So I sprayed it down, and you can let it air dry, but I did use my blow dryer to let it dry. And here is the wig. It is a 13x4 closure, 20 inches in body wave, and it is 150 density. It does come with the standard 4 combs all around and the 2 straps on the side as well, including the lace at the back, just in case you do want to glue it down. I'm spraying the inside of the lace with the same tint spray I used for my bald cap, and I'm going to dry it up with my blow dryer afterward and then try the wig on to see how I'm feeling about the first layer of tint spray. And I'm sure that I ended up taking this off and applying at least 2 more layers of the tint spray, just to give it more of a natural look. And then I took the wig back off after I checked for the second time to adjust the wig to my head size. Here is what the outside of the lace and the inside of the lace looked like after my 3 coats of tint spray. I'm just going to clean up all of that spray that is around my forehead, and I'm going to hop into this install. I started adjusting the wig onto my head, and this is exactly when I realized it wasn't fitting, so excuse me while I adjust, okay? Now the unit is sized up correctly with my head, and I'm just gonna keep moving it around and adjusting it so that I can see exactly where I need to pull it up in order to cover my bald cap. And this will just help me get a great idea of where I'm going to be laying my glue and eventually cutting the lace. It's ear tab time, and I decided to create a part right in the middle of my ear, and then I cut right where that parted line was. In the past, I made the part right above my ear, but I ended up cutting off too much. So this time I decided I would cut off as little as possible to begin with, and then cut off any excess that had to go, just to be sure, so I could get the most natural look out of this. On this side, I created the part above my ear, and I was thinking correctly because I didn't cut at that part. I would have cut too much off, but at the same time, I should have parted it right at the middle of my ear. This way the cut line was exactly where I cut, instead of me cutting right through hair, which left me with the frayed hairs on the side. Like, I was kind of nervous that I wasn't going to be able to create sideburns, so like I just started pulling them out, like, no, like, please, and it was fine, but I learned from that. Now here's my ghost bond that I'm going to use to lay down my first layer of glue, and this part I've been doing the past couple installs, so I'm kind of getting my own groove, so you'll see exactly how I do it. But one thing I do like about my technique is this popsicle stick, because the width of it allows me to perfectly lay the glue where half of it is on my head and half of it is on the cap. And this way I get the most wear out of my install. And I did learn this from Young Africana on YouTube, and I did pretty well, y'all. So for a beginner, this wig stayed with me for a good 3.5 days. After applying 3 layers of my ghost bond and letting each layer dry clear, I'm now going to pull my wig down and adjust it how I was earlier on. And I'm just trying to make sure that the hairline is right before my wig cap, being sure that the wig cap is hidden, because that will ensure the most natural look. So I'm going to use my rat tail comb to push the lace into my glue once I'm sure of the placement. And I'm going to do that on the sides, and then I'll work my way into the middle afterward. This unit came with pre-plucked baby hairs and unbleached knots. So I did go ahead and bleach the knots, and on top of that I went back in and plucked the hairline for a little practice. And I just did a freestyle method before I tried any particular technique, so let me know what y'all think. I'm now going to melt the hairline into the glue by using my blow dryer and my rat tail comb, and I'm just pressing down like I mean it, just to make sure that it's nice and secure. I'm noticing that I didn't quite cover the cap with the hairline of the unit, so somehow I was able to shift it. It clearly wasn't all the way dry, so that worked in my favor. But now I'm making sure the placement is good before I melt it down into place with my rat tail comb and my blow dryer once again. I want you guys to take notice of how intentionally I'm doing this, because I really wanted this to stay for as long as possible. So if you're in the same ballpark as me, just make sure that you take your time with this part to get the longest wear out of your wig. During the melt process, I did tug on the lace a couple times just to make sure it was getting dry, and now that I feel it is thoroughly dry, I'm going to melt it down further with my melt band. And I am going to start off by using warm heat, and then I turn it to the cool setting to really freeze everything into place. I want all the hairs to be out of the way before I cut the lace, so I'm just using my hot comb to make sure that everything is clear. And now I'm going to make my first slit and my second slit, and I'm going to get ready and cut off this lace. Now I kind of think of it the same way that I do when I cut the wig cap for my bald cap method. So I'm tugging up to make sure that I'm cutting off everything that isn't stuck to the glue, and once I know exactly where that is, I just start to cut. But it's all about the feeling of it for me, so that's why I pull the lace upward at first, so I kind of feel exactly where it is stuck and where it is not, and then that gives me a little bit more courage to get going and to start cutting. This side was feeling a little bit more difficult. I felt like I couldn't see for some reason, so it took me a little bit longer, but I'm sure I'll get used to it after a while. I'm using my hot comb to lay down all the flyaways again, because I'm going to get ready and do some adhesive detailing, or at least that's what I call it. So I ended up putting Ghost Bond on the tip of my comb, except this day I learned that it has to be exactly on the tip, because you see how there's glue like further down the end of the comb? That's just going to cause a mess. So from this point on, I made sure I put the glue only on the very tip so that I can put it exactly where I need it. So yeah, after I cut my lace, I noticed that there was still some lace sticking up basically all around my perimeter, so this is what I went ahead and started to do. It's actually pretty simple as long as you can tell where your lace is lifting. You don't want to go back in and purposely tug at your lace and lift it up just to lay it back down. I would only do this where the lace is naturally lifted, and I'm assuming it's because I cut a little less of the lace off than I should have. So if I cut back a little bit further toward the glue that was already laid down on my head, then I wouldn't have to do this. So that just comes with more practice and becoming more proficient with this. But again, as a beginner, like, this was pretty easy for me, so I hope that this is useful for you guys, so that you can use this method instead of feeling like you're doomed or feeling like you just have to take the whole thing off and put it back on again. Like, nah girl, just try this out and just make sure that when you do lay the glue down, how I'm laying it underneath the lace, that you use something that isn't sticky and something that is going to help you lay the lace down flat, just how I'm using the end of this razor, okay? And I try to be very careful and just put the razor on the lace only, because I did make a small mistake where when I was patting down the lace onto the glue, I ended up touching my skin with the razor, and the excess glue that was on my skin turned white, and that's just not a good look. So just try and make sure that you're only touching the lace, and just be very careful with your application, and also be sure to let the glue dry thoroughly. I mean thoroughly. And it doesn't take long because you're only applying a minute amount of glue. But just make sure it's 100% dry before you push down the lace, or else the glue is going to ooze right through the holes of the lace, and then it'll be very noticeable. Well, not necessarily does the glue have to be dry, but you do certainly want it to be clear, because that's an indicator of its readiness to be used the way you're using it and laying down your lace. So, and that's why I didn't use a blow dryer, because it does get clear pretty quickly because I'm using such a small amount of glue. But just grab yourself a little something to fan with, give it about 10 to 15 seconds, and as long as it's clear, you're good to go. I'm combing back my flyaways, and I'm going to put on my melt band and let this baby set for a little while, and we're gonna hop into the next part of this Insta. I'm sectioning my hair off now to get ready and lay these roots nice and flat. And today I'm going to use my Edge Booster Pomade Stronghold Stick to do so. And this was in the scent Raspberry, and it actually didn't have such a strong scent at all, really, compared to like the pineapple or the peach one that I've smelled in the past. So if you're not really keen on strong scents, I suggest picking this one up. But I'm just going to use it and lay it on my roots, and then pass through with my hot comb. And I just make sure that I section off the back so it's out of the way, and then I'll take as straight sections as possible. Like, clearly it's not straight, and I don't intend for it to be super straight, but I like to get like an even section, if that makes sense. I don't want my sections to be bumpy or from like a couple different tracks, because then it won't get as flat as possible. So I just try to make sure I have a nice even layer, and then I'll lay it down, and I'll continue on with this process for the whole front of my head. The first half of my head is complete, and I just love the difference that it makes. Like, before I move forward with any more styling, I am going to detangle my hair and tie it up for a little bit, and I'm going to take off my melt band so that I can get ready and get rid of some of the flyaways that are stuck to the excess glue on my forehead. I did end up grabbing a clean rat tail comb, not the one that I used to lay the glue, and this is the motion that I used to like lift it up, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm sure after I was done doing this, I cleaned up the glue a little bit, and I was extra specially careful to not touch the lace with the alcohol. This was the point I knew it was giving all natural. Like, it's not even picking up on the ring light, but yo, in person. I used my NYX Professional Makeup Powder just to dab around the hairline. Low-key, I didn't even really need it, but it did like help extra specially. So I wasn't mad at it. But at this point, I was really happy with what I had going on. So I just kept going with the steps that I felt were right so that I could really top off this install. So before I did the other side with the makeup, I just made sure I removed the glue that I noticed was there. And yeah, I just added some makeup, y'all. I previously separated the baby hairs while I was customizing this wig on my mannequin head, so it was nice that they kind of fell naturally out from the rest of the hair. So I'm just going to continue to pull out the hairs that I'm going to use, and I'm going to create my baby hairs. now that all the hairs I want are out, I'm going to use my hot comb and flatten them out so that they lay a little bit better when it's time for me to swoop them and create that beautiful decorative look that the baby hairs are going to give me. I find that scissors work best for me when it's time to cut, so I'm going to cut the majority off, and then I'll slowly work my way upward and decide just how short I want to cut them for the baby hairstyle I'm going for. And I did end up getting my baby hair brush and kind of mapping out the hairs just to see if I wanted to cut a little bit more, and that worked out pretty well. It was able to give me a good idea of what I wanted, so I cut off a little bit more, and then I did the same thing on the other side. Today I decided to use Nairobi Rapid and Shine foam to lay my baby hairs. So I did grab a generous amount and lay them on the entirety of my baby hairs to get ready and lay them things. I'm freestyling my baby hairs, I'm doing my thing, and then I realized my lace is lifting. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I guess maybe the Ghost Bond isn't all the way dry yet, and that's why it's lifting. So I just used the excess of the foam on the hair to map out how I want my baby hairs to lay. And then I took this thing out of my holster, my Got To Be Invincible Clear Gel, and I used it as a double whammy because I knew if I put it on my hairline, it would lay the lace all the way back down because this thing has a strong hold, and I knew it would mold my baby hairs exactly the way that I wanted. So I moved forward using that gel, and I continue to style my baby hairs. I'm going to use my Wonder Lace Bond to spray all around the lace on my hairline, and then I'm going to melt it down with my melt band, okay? And then when I put the melt band on, I use my blow dryer and blow it onto my hairline with warm heat, and then I use the cool setting to freeze everything into place. I'm ready to style my hair, and today I'm going to use my Silk Infusion to straighten my hair. I used a dime-sized amount as always, and I'm rubbing it through my hair thoroughly now. I'm also going to add some of this Sebastian Shaper Plus hairspray just for some extra hold and for some humidity protection. When I'm done, I'm going to brush everything through and make sure it is evenly distributed, and then I will section my hair off and start straightening from the back. I started off using the chase method with my comb, but then after a while I fell off a little bit. But one thing that I do stay consistent with is not brushing or combing my sections right after I straighten them. I like to let the heat set into the hair just as I would if I was curling my hair. And then when I'm all done, I brush everything out and it comes together so beautifully. I'm going back in with my hot comb. There's really no telling when I'll put it down, honestly, but I went back in and just tried to get all the rest of the bumps out that were left, if any. And doing this actually made me realize that I do want to perfect my braid job underneath my wig so that it'll take away some of the work that I have to do outside of my wigs as far as getting it very flat. So in the future I will definitely be perfecting that. My styling is all completed, and now here is y'all shine and body check. I'm getting excited because I'm just about done, but before we are complete we have to fix up these roots, so I have something for that. I'm going to use the High Beams and Tint temporary hair color, and I'm just going to place my rat tail comb right into my part, and I'm going to lift the can 6 to 12 inches away. And after a couple sprays, y'all, I felt like that thing was magic. I'm revealing my lace and my baby hairs to you all. And this is what it looks like initially right out of the melt pan. Y'all, I was speechless. Honestly, like I was. So I was just kind of checking it out and seeing how I felt about it. But something about my baby hairs, I felt like I wanted to change it. Like something was off. And I realized it was that little gap that I had right there for some reason. I guess I wanted to go for more of like a cohesive look. Like I wanted my baby hairs to look like, you know, like attached, if that makes sense. So somehow, some way, I got like a couple hairs out of the cast of the gel that I used, and I was able to create a little bit of a swoop to close up that gap. After setting with my melt band, I am ready for the final reveal. Can y'all not tell? I'm sure you can. Babies, this is what it is looking like. Oh my goodness, it looks so natural. Like, I'm in awe. I'm in disbelief. I'm like, did I just do that? Like, yes, girl, you did. I know that's right. This concludes my install, and you guys, I'm sitting here in disbelief that I really just did this. Like, it's clear that my wig game is on the come up, so if you enjoy videos like this, give this one a thumbs up so I'll keep them coming. And I don't know, like, I used a couple new products. I stayed consistent with some of the things I've been doing. Yo, I could not be more proud of myself right now. Like, honestly, did you say scalp? Oh, okay, yeah, I thought you did. I'm definitely happy with these results. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any pointers, questions on anything that I did, just let me know in the comments. But again, give this video a big old thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me, because I got more for you, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.